Welcome to the Other Discovery Show, the podcast that's not about podcasts. It's the bonus show from the Podcast Discovery Show that's about all the other things that we've discovered throughout the week. I'm Kirk.
And I'm Zach. And I discovered some pretty cool stuff this week. One of the first ones is an article that I saw about an MIT team that has created a wearable sleep tracker that will give you the power to control your dreams.
There's no way this is real.
Oh, it's very real. It's not that effective. It's not like, oh, I want to dream X, and then you immediately do. But what this is, they have a little wrist thing here. I'll throw it in the chat as well, so everybody can take a look at it. They have a wrist thing, so it looks like a Fitbit kind of. It's got some finger ones too. And once you put this on, it can tell when you're starting to enter sleep. So, have you ever had where you are not completely asleep, but you're right on the verge of it, and it's kind of trippy, and
reality kind of bends.
It blurs. Everything about it blurs.
Yes,
and that is the time when they want to exploit your brain. So, how this thing works? It's called Dormio, and so there's an app. And then there's your wearable, your dreaming Fitbit. When you enter, it's called hypnagogia. Is the earliest stage of sleep. It's the one we were talking about, where right as you're about to fall asleep, do you ever get that thing where you jump, you feel like you're falling, it startles you out of it? I think that's part of that same state of sleep. But
there's a name for it. I can't remember. I listened to a podcast that's just talking about that. There's a haptic jerk or something like that. I'm pretty sure that's wrong, but it's something like that.
I could see that maybe. Yeah, I don't know, but I've had it happen.
They were trying to say why that happened, and they were saying that it might be they were talking evolutionary, is that when we were living in trees.
Oh, it's falling?
Mm-hmm. Making sure you don't fall out of the tree. Was the idea.
It definitely feels like you're falling sometimes. And also, have you heard of exploding head syndrome?
You've told me about it, and it sounds horrible, but no, I never had it.
I feel like I've had it one time where I almost just feel like it was the same type of sleep, the hypnagogia, where it was just reality was not right. And I just heard something very loud and it woke me up. But okay, when the monitors that you have on your fingers and your wrist, they wait for you to enter this stage of sleep. And then when they do, they start to play your recording. So there's a doctor who's a lead author of a recent study that this was based on that said the state of the mind is trippy, loose, flexible, and divergent at this time. It's like turning up the notch up high on mind wandering and making it immersive. So what they have you do is pick what you're going to dream about. And so for this study, he had each of them record their own voices saying, "Remember to think of a tree."
Remember to think of a tree.
Yeah. And as each person prepared for sleep, it played that prompt. And I think it waits for you to hit that weird place. And then it plays you telling yourself.
It's like an audio.
Yeah. To think of a tree.
Huh.
And then it would. So I think right when you start, it plays it. Right when you enter that space of sleep, it does it again. And then after a brief period, it would wake the person up with another prompt. Please tell me what was going through your mind. And the person would explain the dream. And they did this a bunch of times, and each patient had their own, or participant had their own specific stuff. But by the end, 67% of the people reported dreaming of trees.
What?
The details
that's a really good percentage.
Yeah, that's really high. It's very, very high.
That's more than half.
Yes, it is. But the details of the trees varied widely. One person dreamed of a tree-shaped car, for instance. And they also noticed that they seemed to get more bizarre each time the app woke them up. So another example here, one subject started off by dreaming about many different kinds of trees, including pines and oaks. But by the fifth wake up, that person reported dreaming about a shaman sitting under the tree with me, and he tells me to go to South America.
What?
So it's just crazy. But then here's another crazy thing. Part of the reason why they're studying this is we don't understand the mind fully. So there's always going to be that curiosity on like why this is happening. But there's also a study in 2015 that suggests that maybe if you practice skills in your dream, you will be better at them when you're awake. So they ran a study and they would get people into lucid dreams. I don't know how you do all this. I don't know the logistics behind how you do this study, but it was lucid dreaming. So lucid dreaming is you are aware it's a dream and you can navigate is what it is.
Yeah.
And they had people practice a finger tapping exercise during a lucid dream. And then they improved in real life when they tried that same exercise compared to people who did not do that. So one of the possible things they're interested in is, could you get good at things? Other studies have shown that dreaming in a foreign language may help someone improve at that language. And the last one's anecdotal, but dreaming about certain subjects can also help people with creative problem solving. So,
like writer's block, get some artist block or something like that.
Yeah, if you have something that you're just kind of stuck on, if you just let your sleepy brain mess with it, what could it do? But in the end, Dormio isn't on the market yet, but they're thinking that something potentially could be soon because it's basically just the first step in the door here of what could you do with like optimizing sleep essentially through wearables and through technology.
Yeah. No, that sounds very interesting. I would love to be a subject in that trial, an at-home subject, like,
so
to try
sleep,
it out.
Just get like paid
Basically,
to sleep.
I want to sleep and I want to try this thing to see if it makes me dream better and learn things.
I mean, I could send you a recording of like dream about beans.
I always dream about beans.
And you could just like play that as you go to sleep every night.
Yeah, I have no segue for what I'm talking about. I have an amazing article from Popular Science that's all about the brand new space toilet. So NASA just spent $23 million designing a new and improved space toilet for the astronauts on the ISS. And they just launched it this week. So it's going to be much better.
You would hope so. That's a lot of money.
The article says designing a space toilet is more complicated than it may seem. The first mission into space didn't have toilets on board at all. Astronaut Alan Shepard peed in his spacesuit on the launch pad in 1961, and the original solution was to pee into condom-like plastic tubes that reportedly leaked and certainly did not suit women's needs.
Oh, God. Yeah, I'm guessing that's part of why there wasn't a whole lot of women astronauts at the very beginning, because that's not a sustainable way to do that.
No,
it's like, here's a balloon. Use this.
Engineers have come up with a far better solution since then. But it's a very, complicated thing, because, gravity, there's no gravity. So there's no plopping going on.
There's no plopping going on. You're right.
The new toilet model, called the Universal Waste Management System, is reportedly 65% lighter and 40% smaller than the previous model. The waste collection system, which is currently on board the station, was designed in the 1990s. They haven't had a new toilet up there since the 90s.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. You would think it'd all be upgraded by now.
And they've got some pictures of the toilet and stuff like that, which is interesting.
How does it look?
It looks... I don't know how it is usable. It looks horrible. It looks horrible to use. I will say that still. It still looks horrible to use. But apparently, the current one, you cannot do a number one and a number two at the same time. You can only do one at a time, which has got to be a thing that now is resolved. You can do both in this one. which is great. It's
That's
definitely
great.
taken into account that women exist. So it's better there too. But yeah, NASA just spent over $20 million on a new toilet, and they just sent it to space.
So we'll find out. Really, the jury's still out. We'll see how it works.
By the way, how do you think they get rid of the pee pee poo poo?
I thought they just shot it out. It's like,
They do shoot out the poo poo.
oh,
And
no,
then
they
they burn
recycle the pee, right? They turn the pee back into water?
Yeah. They recycle the pee. And I love the quote, and it's disturbing, but I love it. They says, when it comes to our urine in the ISS, today's coffee is tomorrow's coffee. It's so
I mean, disturbing, but awesome. No, yeah, I mean, you have to. There has to be like as much conservation as possible when you're
disturbing,
literally
but
in space. They are disturbing in their efficiency. Yeah, no, it's weird to think about, but I'm sure it's fine.
New space toilet incoming to the ISS. You heard it here, guys.
Yep. No, but it was. I'm sure that the 23 million is because every single thing has to be able to be in a vacuum and to be able to be shot into space, so it makes it expensive. So I saw this awesome. It was actually like an Ask History. There's a history subreddit, and somebody just asked a question. How many examples are there of any animals once domesticated by humans that were simply abandoned? And I was like, well, that is an amazing question. I am curious about that right now.
So it's asking, like, are there animals that are now wild that at one point we had domesticated?
Correct.
Yeah, I'd never even thought of that.
And there was a breed of dog called the turnspit dog. And as you can guess by its name, it turned to spit back when most of the time people were
like a
cooking outdoors. So they literally had a dog that was just bred to turn the wheel. It was bred to run on a wheel in order to turn meat so it would cook evenly. And they would usually have a pair of dogs working in shifts. And this was totally a thing. But then they're now extinct because we don't have spits. And I don't know. Let me see. I don't see anything that says like why it was lost. I think it was just they didn't need it anymore. And this was the first mention of it is 1576. So this was a long time ago. They were not going to the dog show. They weren't concerned about preserving breeds unless there wasn't a
puppy bowl yet. There was no puppy bowl.
Yeah, there was nothing they really cared about, particularly with the breed, unless it was helpful. So here's another one that was helpful: a Salish woolly dog. And a Salish woolly dog it was like a sheep. They bred a dog because it had really long, fluffy hair, and they would use it for wool. And they were using it,
dog, but like an actual, like not a sheep herding dog, but a dog.
No, a dog that is supposed to function like a sheep.
Actual sheep dog.
Yeah. And so basically, it was just really high quality fur that they would use for what they ended up calling Salish blankets. There was just people's, I think it was like in the Northwest. Yeah, Washington State and British Columbia. And yeah, it was a small, long-haired wool dog, and it was coyote-like. And it was just a little fluffy dog that they would shear just like a sheep, and they would use its hair. There is a ton of pigs that went extinct just because people stopped using lard for everything. And so I guess that pig, you weren't concerned about like the meat on it. You were concerned about really high fat content. Mm-hmm. And I think this might be a spoiler if I looked at actually, no, it just fits really well. Another one is, have you ever thought about why pigeons go crazy everywhere? Because that was a thing before. People used pigeons to deliver messages. Mm-hmm. And now pigeons are just around, just pigeoning, and they don't have a job, but they are perfectly suited to live in urban areas because they were domesticated. They lived around us. There's another one called, and this is one of the coolest ones. There was one called the Fuegian dog, And the Fuegian dog was domesticated, but it is not anymore. But the other one is still alive. Okay, so a Fuegian dog was a domesticated Andean fox. And an Andean fox is still around. That's still an actual animal. So it's the only one that they mentioned on here that was once domesticated, but now just the wild one is around. And I'll show you a picture of this because it looks like a little coyote. And I could totally see why people would want this little like coyote dog.
Oh, it's cute.
Yeah, it's very cute. It looks like a little wolf coyote or a fox coyote.
Yeah. It's like it's got a coyote face with a fox tail.
Yeah. They look pretty adorable. So I can tell, and they've also, I think Russia was working on domesticating foxes just outright. But no, it was just one of those things where I literally just saw that question on the Reddit post. And I was like, this is crazy. I'm curious, and it was awesome. And I found out a bunch of weird specialty dogs.
No, that's really cool.
We are terrible at advertising for our own show, but we know that it's important. So we're going to put it all right here where we'll normally or otherwise have another great show that we'd have you checking out or something that we believe in and think is cool. But if you'd like to support the show, I'm going to list these things fast. We appreciate any possible way that you get in touch, you support the show. We got Twitter, we got Patreon. We have affiliate codes at both Rogue Energy and Audible. We have a Venmo if you'd like to do that. We have a Twitch channel. We have a YouTube channel. Basically, if you'd like to support the show, find your preferred medium, and we are on it. You can come get in touch with us, and we really hope that you do. You can hit follow, subscribe on whatever you'd like to. But honestly, just thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it.
So much. And guys, it's spooky time again. It's that time of year. So I thought I needed to bring a spooky discovery. And I found a really, really interesting one from Zach's favorite website and one of my favorites as well, Atlas Obscura. I was actually a little bit worried that you had used this one. So that's why I went ahead and put it in there earlier so that you could be like, no, that's mine.
No.
But you didn't.
No, I mean, that's why I never get anything from Today I Learned.
I know. That's why I felt a little bit bad because I was in your territory.
No, you're good.
So this is about sorcery in Iceland.
I'm liking it so far.
In Iceland. And there is some crazy stuff. And I think a lot of it never actually happened. It just is almost like folklore now.
Mm-hmm.
But there's like museums that talk about it. So Iceland in the 17th century wasn't the greatest time or place to be alive. Faced with natural disasters, constant coastal pirate raids, and a crushing class system that left all but the richest citizens living in stone huts, the Icelandic peasants of the time had a hard life. As often the case in such situations where hope was scarce and education even more so, many of the people turned to witchcraft as a last resort to improve their wretched lives. However, the defining characteristics of much of Icelandic sorcery is the oddly specific and elaborate rituals themselves, which often call for some bodily tithe or gruesome sacrifice.
Bodily tithe. That sounds not great from the premise.
There's two of them that we have to talk about because they're just so nuts. And again, I don't think anyone actually did this because it's just so out there. But in their lore, this is what you would need to do if you wanted to do this witch thing. Summoning a vengeful zombie required lots of spit and snot licking. While many of the more insane workings were likely more than folklore, even in their day, no more than folklore even in their day, and never actually attempted, they still make for some fascinatingly grim windows into the culture of the era. This one's the weird one. One of the weird ones. It's called the tilbury, a two-headed snake that would help people steal goat's milk. And there's a picture of it, and it is terrifying because they have it in the museum. You know, it's like a representation of it.
There's a picture of the snake?
Yeah. It's very weird. Let me read the ritual that you would need to do if you wanted a tilbury to steal some goat milk for you. The Tilbury was said to be summoned by first stealing a rib from a corpse only recently interred, then wrapping the bone with gray wool, also stolen, preferably from a sheep of a widow. This macabre totem was then to be kept between a woman's breasts, during which time she must spit out her communion bread or wafer for 3 Sundays and feed it to the fetish, which would slowly grow and become alive until it was suckling the inside of her thigh, where it left a mark like a wart.
Oh.
Once this gross creature reached maturity, it would slink off to a neighbor's land and suckle their goat's milk until it was full, and then it would roll back to its creator's home to expel its stolen milk.
So you would drink the milk out of that thing?
I guess. But do you see the thing? The representation of it?
Yeah.
It's so weird.
It doesn't even give any like detail on where this is. It just looks like some kind of horror show.
It's from a museum. They have like a museum of like witchcraft and like folklore.
So eventually it would be that big, and it would be between your breasts and then also biting your leg and leaving a wart. And then it would sneak off and drink all the goat's milk, and then it would come back and mama bird you the goat's milk.
Yes.
Witchcraft sounds awesome.
That isn't spooky enough. Let me tell you about necropants. These vile leggings were the main component in a ritual that was said to bring the caster unlimited wealth. Although the requirements of the spell were so outlandish that simple backbreaking labor seemed like a more attractive alternative. Basically, if you wanted to do this and get unlimited wealth, you basically had to make a pact with a friend, stating that once the friend had died of natural causes, which that's the thing, is like you have to wait for your friend to die of natural causes.
It's a really long-term play.
It's so weird. Okay, so once your friend dies of natural causes, okay, the sorcerer has permission to take the skin from them the waist down. So you've got to literally peel their skin off once the friend is dead. The greedy magician must then wait until the friend has been buried, dig up the body, and then skin the lower half of the corpse without creating any holes or tears, thus creating a pair of gruesome skin pants. Once the necropants have been created, the caster must don the purloined pantaloons against his bare skin.
Purloined pantaloons.
There are things about this ritual that are ridiculous. I mean, it's already ridiculous.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah.
It gets crazier. Now, the ritual requires that the sorcerer steal a coin from a destitute widow.
Why are the widows always abused in these witchcraft things?
Let me read this part. And place it in the empty scrotum of the pants, along with the magical Icelandic stave, which is a symbol written on a scrap of parchment. And that's it. The pants soon become indistinguishable from the wearer's body, and so long as the original coin was not removed from the scrotum should continuously and miraculously fill with coins for the rest of the time.
Okay. So you're going to sound like a changed person anytime you're walking around because you're just filling up with coins? Is that the goal?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a weird thing to do. Everything about that is weird.
But what is terrifying is that pair in that picture. It says the only known pair of necropants in the world are now located in the Museum of Icelandic Sorcery and Witchcraft in Iceland.
Those are actual necropants?
Those are actual necropants.
Ugh. Yeah, I don't like that.
No, it's not real. In actuality, a frighteningly realistic reproduction, hair and all. It's not real. But
okay, good.
Yeah, I'm glad it's not. God, that's so weird. It's so spooky.
Yeah, that's disturbing. I wish I could erase that from my brain.
I love how they have it blurred out too, because there's I mean, it's a scrotum full of coins.
Where is the blurred out part for you?
That's the
top one.
It's blurred out. The middle one is not blurred out.
I guess it's just top page. So they're like, top of the page, we'll blur it. If you've gotten this far and read this much, you're fine. You can see the real thing.
I have one more discovery. It's a really quick one, but I thought it was fascinating. I saw it today. It's a Time magazine article that talks about China's most secret weapon, the messenger pigeon. Though the world's attention was recently focused on China unveiling its new stealth fighter, the Chinese military is also began training 10,000 pigeons as part of a push to build a reserve pigeon army. That's literally a quote, reserve pigeon army, that would provide support to the military's conventional communications infrastructure in the event that war rendered its plethora of modern technology unusable. These military pigeons will be primarily called upon to conduct special military missions between troops stationed at our land borders or ocean borders. That's a quote from the military. But they have some really fascinating stuff in this article about when pigeons have been used in the past. And they actually have dogs as well that they've been training for this eventuality that they don't have essentially electricity or, electronics that are working.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen with the rise of technology, people have gone backwards to try and circumvent it. So, I think Putin just sent Trump a telegram when he found out they had COVID. Didn't send him an email. What? He sent him a telegram.
Okay.
And spies have started using typewriters again because there literally is no other copy of it other than the one. And it cannot be hacked. It's just a piece of paper. So, yeah, it's interesting how some of that stuff sticks around just because it's not the same susceptibilities that we currently have. But yeah, that's cool.
They have some interesting things about times that pigeons have been used in the past for communication. Hundreds of pigeons were dropped over Normandy during the D-Day landings to provide a communication channel back to Britain for soldiers who feared their radio messages would be intercepted by the Nazis. The first pigeon to make it back to London with the news that the invasion had been a success was awarded with high military honors. I love this one too. Criminals too have found pigeons useful. In January, authorities in Colombia apprehended a pigeon that was being used to deliver narcotics to their incarcerated compatriots. The overburdened bird with cocaine and marijuana strapped to its back, fell out of the sky before crossing the prison.
I was about to ask, how do you apprehend a pigeon? But that'll do it if it falls out of the sky. That'll do it.
Hey, look at that bird. It's got a brick of cocaine on its back.
That bird looks weird.
It's great.
There's no stopping technology. Cocaine pigeons. What's next?
Wait, what? The end of the article talks about apparently pigeoning is a huge thing in China. It's like blowing up. Dang. An unnamed Chinese bidder broke the world record price for a single pigeon by paying $200,000 for a pedigree Belgian racing bird considered the creme de la creme of the pigeon racing world. $200,000 for a pigeon.
I need to start raising some pigeons.
Yeah.
That is ludicrous money. They cannot be that hard to take care of. They should eat dirt and like food. They eat like fries off the ground. It's fine.
They don't eat fries off the ground if they're a creme de la creme racing pigeon.
I question that. I think they 100% would. I think they can also probably fly faster to get to the fries that are on the ground.
Okay.
No, I'm guessing if you have a $200,000 bird, you probably are feeding it like at least like organic French fries and maybe off a plate.
Well, all right, guys. Those we had a lot of really interesting discoveries this week. So many things: space toilets, necropants, extinct animals that we had domesticated in the past, $200,000 pigeons.
You want to say all of them? You want to go to the other one too? No, I'm just messing with you. But yeah, thanks everybody for listening. Get in touch. Anything you can possibly watch or listen to things on, we're probably there. So check it out. And we hope that you had a great time listening. We really appreciate it, and we will talk to you next week.
Bye.
This was a podcast from the Podfix Network.